message and then they leave. It's like, well, what do you talk about this, right? Come out and talk about your scheme.
I'd really like to know.
Excuse me. Are you talking about this iPhone guy who was there?
No, the crypto guy who says give me $300.
The other iPhone guy? Just for your info, the other iPhone guy is the one that usually comes to the rooms of Ben and us together and mocks me and around the Iranian rooms. As an American spy, this guy, Irfan, whatever he was, he's blocked by Ben and banned by him from the room. And he went there and told to the Iranian people, Pirzons told the Zionists to remove me from their secret room. I mean, really, like, you know what kind of, it is for Iranian, you know? So, being called as a spy for Israel. Now they are arresting a lot of Jewish and Baha'i people, you know, Afghan people of minority, you know, and now be like a Gestapo and middling around other rooms and shout it out like Gestapo, you know, Sturmabteilung.
This is why the Anon thing, I kind of wrote a comment to Clubhouse, but I guess they don't read those comments. That by having that, I mean, in Iranian rooms, people have, spent a lot of time figuring out who are the government agents and who are not, to identify problematic people and spies, etc. By putting this Anon thing, they have basically eradicated all of that work. So now Anon people can just come into rooms like government agents, and spies can come into rooms as Anon.
Danny!
And nobody knows who they are, and you can't keep them out. That's horrible.
That's normal. If there is no somebody who's watching you, this is the exception. Nowadays in Iranian Clubhouse, all these they have left Clubhouse, and not much people has left. All those who have left now. They are earning a little bit, maybe in business or something else, but actually the intelligentsia has left already.
Where did they go? I mean, and so when you say the intelligentsia is like
preparing themselves, you know, maybe on the more private level, to get in contact with the more private level, and preparing themselves for leaving the country. We are a country which its sky is occupied. We are not the superior on our airspace. Imagine you're living in America and Russia have your airspace. What do you feel? This is not a country anymore. You are kind of not in the rule of your own. So, I mean, a lot of people, I'm trying my best to get my rest of the family out of the country, to be honest with you. We forgot about the money we have there. We forgot about our houses there.
Let me respond to Jules really quick. In the Iranian clubhouse, the Farsi-speaking clubhouse and the English-speaking clubhouse are completely different. So during the past protests, Clubhouse was used to organize a lot of these protests. A lot more Iranian opposition groups are in Clubhouse. And so the space here turns into is a highly political space against the regime. And so, yes, the agents of the regime are in Clubhouse to see who inside of Iran is saying what. And multiple people have been arrested in Iran because of the comments that they made on Clubhouse. So this presence of government agents in Clubhouse for the Farsi-speaking community is indeed a huge issue.
She was probably talking about the...
Yeah. In the U.S., that's not an issue unless Trump succeeds.
Not yet.
Chinga Amerindigenous. Are they both your accounts? And do you want to record and type us out your podcast?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. Good morning, Alfonso. Anyone else? We're just having a chat.
Yeah, good morning, Dr. James. Good to be here.
I had a little preview of an article that I had readied up over the weekend, but I just decided that Monday it seems like there's enough inertia from people having had a whole weekend of not talking since Thursday. That seems like today is a great day for just kind of open. I think that just became an official new decree just now. So anyway, what's up? Anything happened over the weekend for anyone? Anything on your mind? We've got 34 minutes left. A lot of interesting stuff going on in my little universe of news, but meaning not my personal news, nothing new to report there, but in terms of just little news articles I picked up. But I would much rather just do open dialogue. If any of you have anything, just kind of burning thoughts.
I have something. I don't know if anybody knows about the airline industry, but I read an article a couple of weeks ago that said the sort of ethos and culture of pilots and flight attendants is palpable in terms of service and in terms of safety. And I can't remember which airline, but like sometimes the pilot and co-pilot will fight, and then the flights don't go so well, or they don't show up on time. And another airline, everybody's like real friendly and a family, and everything goes well. I usually fly Delta, and I'm satisfied with Delta. But this last week, I flew to Oklahoma on United and almost died twice. So the wind shear in Denver was really, really terrible. Nobody could land. They wanted us to stay in the air for 30 minutes. The pilot said, we don't have enough fuel to do that, so he's trying to land us in Nebraska. We couldn't make it, so we had to land in Wyoming, which the wind was still high in Wyoming, and it was very rough and rocky, and we hit the ground hard, and then we had to get on buses and go to Denver that way. But that didn't seem to fix anything, because then on the way back from Oklahoma, had similar problems, and they kept delaying our flight from like 7 in the morning to 1 in the afternoon, and everybody who was on the flight with me was like, I'm never going to fly United again. United does this all the time. So there's two questions. One is, like, when the flights don't go well, is that the crew's fault? And then on the other side,
welcome back to Clubhouse, another episode of stupid people wasting all their time talking about nothing. This fucking pathetic Nathan has created a mind virus with Tali, and now Monica's mounted up.
I just want to ask you, have you seen HBO, the show Rehearsal Season 2? If you have not, I highly recommend you watch it, because it's a very interesting, intelligent, and humorous take on this really horrendous topic. It's I call it investigative journalism meets real life comedy meets I don't know what. But basically they do this whole expose on the relationship between the pilot and the co-pilot, and how co-pilot can ban them for life. If they don't follow orders, and because the pilot and co-pilot are basically just meeting for the first time as they're getting on the plane, so they don't really have too much rapport built up between them. And very, very interesting take on just, the impact of shitty communication between the pilot and co-pilot in the airline industry.
I'll just speak. My husband flies for American, and I've never heard of him ever having issues like that with.
Is he the pilot or the co-pilot?
Well, I guess you would say, because you have the captain and the first officer.
That's what I meant, captain.
Okay, so he's been a captain before, but then he moved up into international. So right now he's one of the first officers. There's 4 of them on the international planes. He has never complained about that. He usually gets along really well with the other pilots.
So his subordinates are obedient.
Yeah, I mean everybody pretty much gets along. And sometimes, usually, he has some tips with the flight attendants because they'll be like, oh, you can't do this or that, and he's like, just little drama things. But for the most part, they don't have issues with that. So that's just to speak on that part. As far as like, well, yeah, I know you said some other things, Chinga. I'm not sure what I can speak to.
So let me just do the obligatory good mornings here. Wow, we've got Cora. Welcome, Cora. Hero, Marshall. We're just having kind of an open dialogue. So, clearly you can talk about anything you want at this point. It happens to be that I was commiserating with Chinga on nearly dying on a United Airlines flight, and then I shared about this docu-comedy I saw on HBO called Reversal, which is season 2. They kind of get into this topic, and they highlight this communication issues between the first officer and the captain on these commercial airline flights, where the co-pilot, the first officers, just don't feel safe to essentially tell the pilot, hey, we're about to crash, and they're supposed to feel comfortable to take over the plane if need be, and they show all these examples of where this has happened through reenactment, and it's pretty scary. I mean, it's an interesting thing that they've potentially.
You're the fourth person to mention rehearsal in the last 3 days to me, so it is definitely on my list to watch soon.
Season 2 in particular related to this topic, yeah.
I haven't seen it, so when I will definitely report back. The pilot co-pilot relationship is pretty well spelled out by standard operating procedure and stuff. From my perspective, I think this does change between companies, but so I have a good friend who flies for Delta, and he talks pretty glowingly about it. I'm sure they're not all the same.
Is he a first officer or a captain?
He's a captain. Like, was it Mo we talked about?
You can imagine the captains might have a blind spot, right? Think about it.
Well, but so what happens is, like, nobody becomes a captain without having been a first officer, and they change around quite a bit. So, like right now, for example, my friend is getting type certified in, I think, Airbus 350s, and which is large wide body twin engine, and he will become a first officer again before he's a captain of that plane. So they do that a lot through their career. They go, you're first officer, you're captain, you go to a bigger plane, you're first officer again, now you're captain, and he also did the international stuff where you're like a relief captain. So you got to be captain kind of earlier, but didn't get to take off from the plane, so it's like a mini captain. Anyway, so they do this a lot, but I know that the way they each have roles to play, and the co-pilot is not like completely submissive. It's not like the captain comes in and says, "Oh, I'm the captain, you can't tell me what to do." I just don't think that really happens. I mean, I'm really curious about watching the show. I do fear, like most TV shows, that it's kind of going to get it wrong for the sake of the show, but we'll see. It's also like a comedy, right? So it's
kind of weird because it's like a person who owns right out the gate. He says, I'm a comedian, basically I make my money off of making people laugh, and there's a serious topic that has, come to my attention. How do we broach this and have it be both?
Yeah,
how do we do this?
I'm very curious. I know that a comedy can speak to truth and power in powerful ways, so I don't dismiss it out of the gate. I'm very curious.
Well, here's the thing that I thought was interesting. It's more about the nuance of the dynamics of communication between uneven structures of power in a professional context when you've got 300 people's lives in your hands, and how that plays out. And you would not expect it to play out the way they're proposing, which is that there have been many deaths that occurred when you look at the flight logs. That essentially what happened was there was some point where the co-pilot became aware that there was a problem, but the co-pilot didn't speak up.
Yeah, I think Hero's missing because he came in late. There was an article last week that came out and talked about the ethos of different airlines and how some work better because they have a very good relationship and familial-like atmosphere, while other ones are very competitive and they don't get any incentive for cooperating, and so it affects the service.
It's kind of like if you have all downside for speaking up in a differential of power as someone who's a subordinate, how often do you...
Well, I do know that the aviation culture has taken on this, and first of all, the fact that it varies per company and perhaps even by country and culture, that doesn't surprise me at all. I'm sure there's good examples and bad examples. But I do know that aviation in general takes these kinds of things pretty seriously and are pretty sophisticated about it. So they talk a lot about cockpit resource management and there's like protocols you go through when you decide to do something. It's like, I'm flipping a switch. Okay, you flip the switch. Okay, flipping the switch. Like there's these like little like it's drilled into the pilots how they talk about things and kind of get consensus between them. Not to say mistakes don't happen, but they at least try. They take it pretty seriously, and my friend is like a what do we call them? He's a line check airman. Like he's one of the guys who actually like when he gets in the cockpit like can basically disqualify somebody. He's kind of an instructor, but like an examiner sort of thing. And so he's pretty senior. And he will talk about certain people that he always comes to, some one times they're ex-military or they just like, I used to fly F-18s, or they're kind of a little too big for their role. And there's a macho culture in some ways, and all the more reason to have a lot of people thinking about this. And if you were taking like an FAA exam, which I have because I'm a private pilot, so I just have little things. I can't really speak to this firsthand, but just because I know people. There are lots of questions about like psychology. Like they identify these different personality types. There's people who are authoritarian. There's people who are not evasive. What's the word? There's actually you study and learn about the types of dangerous personality, not personalities, more like dangerous mentalities, like avoid.
Are you talking about like an avoid PD? Are you talking about personality disorders? Or are you just talking about more dynamics within?
Yeah, dynamics in communication, but I don't think personality disorders, but certain mentality. I'll look it up. There's the FAA has these like identified risky kind of behaviors or mentalities, like somebody who likes to flaunt the rules, or somebody who wants to ignore problems, like, we're getting low on fuel, but...
Hero. So, really quick, this is kind of what this seed in this show kind of highlights a bit, are the different dynamics that play out. So, I almost feel like those examples seem like they come from actual that ended in fatality.
Totally. Everything that seems weird in life is there because it actually happened, right? Like I'm sure Sam could speak on this, like in contracts and lawyers speak and stuff. And every time you see something like, what, that seems done. It's like, no, that's happened enough that now there's like a thing on it in the contract. And every procedure in an airplane is because these things have gone wrong, right? Like there's definitely going to be a new thing about how you touch the fuel switch now, right? Because of the thing in India. And maybe it's going to change, maybe that fuel switch is going to change. Somehow physically or logically how it works, but every time something goes wrong, people circle wagons and figure out what's going on, and there's really this culture of not trying. Okay, it used to be like, pilot error, and that every time something went wrong, if you could blame it on pilot error, there was this idea of like, oh well, that was that guy's fault. I wouldn't do that, but that really changed to be like, no, pilot error. The pilot did that for a reason. Either they were confused, and if they were confused in a way, then we could be confused in that same way. And if the switch was in a bad place, or it looked too much like another switch, or there's a procedure, like people really they change the way words are used, because like this word sounds too much like that word in the heat of battle, so to speak. can be confused. So they're always reviewing these things, and of course things can be wrong and things need to be improved. But there's a lot of effort into doing this. I guess is my point. More than almost like any other area of my life. I see aviation folks just really really thinking seriously about how things should be better and how things should be good.
That is good to hear, by the way. That is encouraging. Anyway, does anyone else have any comments? I think Shingo, you're on mic.
I was going to add another wrinkle. So I appreciate the flight attendant and the pilot's honesty, but they said the plane. So I do short hops to unpopular cities, right? And Delta never had a problem, but United, they use these older, poorly designed planes, and that's what the flight attendant said. This plane design isn't that great. It's really front heavy, so we want everybody to sit in the back. And then we had some extra seats, and she goes, especially the heavier people, we need to balance. We need to balance the plane so that we don't come down too hard. And they said this in both directions, going to Oklahoma and coming back to Oklahoma. They said this plane sucks, and we need all the fat people in the back.
Do you remember what kind of plane it was?
No, I don't remember, but I was just like, I understand the planes are expensive and you probably can't get rid of them, but you should have bought a better plane.
I've been on flights where the pilot came out and said, I've been on flights that pilot comes out and says, you move over there, and just moves people around to balance the weight. I think they can tell by the pressure on the landing gear if the plane is not weighted.
Actually, especially those small planes, they do that. They've done that actually for, I remember that even in the early 70s, that they would move people around in the really small regional planes to rebalance things, and luggage too. When they load in the luggage, they're very careful about how they balance the luggage in there.
Oh, yes.
Even though it just looks like they're just
So corporate contracts, right? What kind of sense corporations do
So that's what they did. So they said they admitted that we don't have enough fuel to go from Bismarck to Denver, right? So we had to land in Scottsbluff. They're like, oh, can't make it there. Got an emergency land in Cheyenne, Wyoming. So we get there, and they said, we're going to get more fuel, and then we're going to try again for Denver. They overfueled the plane, and they said, we can't get people back on the plane because the plane's too heavy now. Like, just so many comedy of errors. It was just terrible.
I sounds about, maybe it's just that because of the internet, we hear about it a lot more often, but the turbulence, you hear about it a lot lately, and I'm wondering, is this something that climate change is affecting a lot? And I haven't really heard much about that aspect of it. Is climate change affecting, especially the upper atmosphere, the 30,000 feet stuff where these planes are dropping 10,000 feet.
Yeah, I've heard that, Rick. I've heard that it's from climate change, but I can't contribute any more than that because it's just that I've heard.
I would tend to think it's more due to the fact that there's just more flights into a lot more area. Like the model has become much less like the spoke model, where you have major hubs and bigger. For a while, it was like bigger planes into small hubs, and the industry changed to smaller planes into many hubs. So it's way more distributed, and that's why you're seeing flights into smaller and smaller airports as populations kind of grow up around those airports. But yeah, so there's a ton more flights than there used to be. That's got it. So that's why like planes like the A380 kind of died. Pretty quickly, like the 747 went away or is almost gone, and those biggest planes are less economically viable for the airlines because they'd rather fly 3 planes from say the 3 different airports in the New York region to 3 different airports in the UK rather than one big flight from JFK to Heathrow. it just makes more sense. It gives different more options, more times, slightly different locations. And,
interesting spin, really quick. Nathan Gilder, the guy who does that show, Rehearsal, and the season 2 pilot episode, there's this interview I pinned to the top where one of the pilots that's interviewed basically said, I just discovered that Nathan Gilder had gotten his commercial license and was 737 rated. So that's actually kind of an interesting twist to the guy that's hosting the show, and some knowledge you would have as an insider, and if there's any exams that have to be taken, I know how thorough this.
Well, he's a comedian pilot. That's
Interesting.
Or a pilot comedian. Well,
No, please go ahead. Sorry,
as far as the question about whether traffic control gives preference to certain airlines or something, I don't think that's a thing. I think they get their flight plans, they're scheduled. There is a timing thing sometimes. So if you have a bunch of planes stacked up, which you don't get that very often anymore. Like it used to be a thing where you'd be like, we're in a holding pattern, and now with GPS and stuff, it's what you navigate direct to all the time. You don't have to go to this to this navigate, to that navigate, to that. It used to be kind of like connect the dots, and now it's like you take off and boom, go straight towards something else. You have to avoid weather or terrain or restricted areas or whatever. So there are a lot more direct flights, and it's true. And now it's like if you're going to have to divert to a different airport, usually they do it earlier. You don't fly to that airport, do traffic patterns for an hour, and then divert. Usually it's like, well, I mean, it does happen because of weather, like you're talking about, like crazy turbulence, crazy stuff. But that, to me, that's just that's nature getting in the way of us having a good time. We have high winds. We have it's actually hard to land planes in high winds. It turns out. I love that that's still true.
One thing that we don't have holding patterns anymore like we did before is not because we're using GPS. It's because airlines have figured out that wastes a lot of fuel. So if you don't have a landing spot in the queue at the destination airport, you don't take off. So you basically take off when you're short of a spot in the queue.
It's true, especially for shorter range flights. It's called flow control. So they will delay your takeoff until you fit into the traffic. They have it a lot of more regional airports. Like I don't think you're flying across the country, that'll affect you because you still have a lot of time to correct for when you arrive. But if it's so short that if your flight is so short that you're gonna take off, go there, and land, like your landing time is pretty predictable at that point, and they will alter your takeoff for that. It's pretty logistically dialed in these days. It's so dialed in that when things go wrong, it's cascaded through the system. Because the time slots are way tighter than they used to be. That any mess up of that fucks everything up, and that's why you hear about these of the entire Northeast, or sometimes you're waiting for a flight and say, why is it delayed? Oh, there was this mess up back in Atlanta. We're across the country from Atlanta. Well, yeah, but that delayed this flight, which delays that flight, and all of a sudden everything's messed up. But partly that's because things are so freaking dialed in on a good day.
Well, let's walk together. 12 minutes left here. Anyone else have any comments? Maybe someone who hasn't spoken? We could do a 10-second silent countdown and then dogpile anyone else who has something they want to say that's already spoken. Just want to the folks maybe who don't like each other. Well, we've offered the plate. We put out the delicious dessert. You can take it.
I'll just say it's interesting because this whole, airline stuff just really was popping in the chat. There's so much everyone can say about flights and everything.
Yeah, please do. You've got 11 minutes left to get it.
How about that airline food?
United Airways actually has decent food on their flights.
Well, have to say Osiris, the Scottish Terrier, Lord of the Underworld, a buddy of mine, right at my ankle right now on a walk in Berkeley Hills. She hates flying, but he always finds a way to sneak on the plane with me, and I'm that guy. Some of you may love me, some of you may hate me, but he is on my lap as often as possible, and then I have to keep putting him into his little thing under the seat, which, I mean, let's be real, he can barely fit into. And so I have all sorts of little techniques I use to hide him. I make drink tents over my head, and we hang out in the tent. We do all sorts of things, but we've gone to Mexico so many times. He's been on so many great vacations over the years before the pandemic. Things have been a little bit thin since the pandemic, but I don't know. You know, I'm very thankful for air travel that doesn't kill me. Let me just throw it out there. So, you know, thank you for your service, pilots, co-pilots, captains, first mates, and
I also travel with my dog everywhere, but she's a service dog, and so nobody hassles us at all. She usually sits on the floor, but she'll come up in my lap if I'm getting like anxious or something, and do like pressure therapy on my chest. And the flight attendants and everybody seems to love her so far. So she's a very good dog.
What kind of dog do you have, Carl?
She's half Boston Terrier, half French Bulldog. She weighs about 24 pounds, and her name's Birdie.
Well, I probably would love that dog too because I love all animals.
How do you get them through the security?
She actually, you have to, when you're going through, you have to let the dog go before you on the leash. And generally what happens is the TSA agent on the other side will like take the leash once she gets through, and then you have to go through right after. So it's like one at a time. Yeah.
Is it true that Italy is more dog friendly? Because if that is the case, then I feel like I want to bring Osiris to meet my ancestors, at least, you know, half my genes ancestors, and I think he would have a great time.
Yeah, I've never taken Birdie overseas. I do want to take her to Mexico because I know Mexico will let you without a hassle with the dogs. So
their whole disposition. So I'm Gen X, right? So when I grew up going down to Tijuana and Ensenada and all these places as a kid, so I can drink, you know, before I was 21 and do stupid things, and so yeah, I lived in SoCal, so that was an easy thing to do. And back then, it seemed like dogs were not that revered. And then, you know, fast forward to the last 10 years, trips to go to Mexico, and it's like, man, what a treat for Osiris. I mean, he comes home with all kinds of personalized and embroidered different things, his new dog collars, new Osiris handkerchief, like the whole shebang. It's great. They got little doggy beds in the places we stay that look just like their adult beds. It's.
Well, part of it, I think, is I don't know what year it was, but the UN had this whole thing about countries that eat dogs, you know, Korea, Mexico, other places, and in Mexico, people ate dogs. You know, the Chihuahuas were bred to be the chickens of the Aztecs, right? And so it got really pejoratized and culturally not cool. So then all of us, and Mexico actually made a law, I think it was in 21, that says there's no legal way you can eat a dog anymore. So I think that's the whole cultural attitude, is trying to satisfy the British old lady who loves her dog so much that she'd clone it in Switzerland.
Probably also the travel industry too, right? Because there's a bunch of nitwits like me who love to go everywhere with their dogs, and that's not going to change. So I can imagine losing a huge swath of your potential clientele because they're a bunch of, you know, whatever you would call someone like me who's just never leaves his dog with anyone.
I promise not to eat your dog.
You know,
Dinophile?
yeah. Oh, good morning, Dr. Francine. Haven't heard from you.
Good morning. I'm not good at contributing on airline pilots, but on dogs, I'm number one. I've actually flown in the retriever.
So, Dr. Francie, hard-hitting question. Are you pro or con consumption of dogs?
Oh my God. I have dogs that sleep on my bed with me. I'm totally con. I don't eat any meat.
They taste like a combination of pork and chicken. It's really greasy.
Ew.
Nothing.
There was this place, and
Nothing with a face.
there's this place in our town that had a pet store, and right next door was a Chinese restaurant by the same name. That's disgusting. I can only imagine.
The people who weren't adopted got eaten.
Well, you know, you don't know what happened, but it's kind of odd that they owned both a pet store and a restaurant.
I think you're connecting dots that aren't explicitly there, Mo. I mean, can we just be...
Yeah, maybe.
I'd like to take this opportunity and give a public service announcement on behalf of the Baja California Tourism Bureau and say for those of you who have access to it but haven't done so, Valle de Guadalupe Valley, it's about half hour east of Ensenada. It's in the mountains. It's the Mexican wine region. And I've been there for 5 times post-COVID. They have a lot of really nice resort-type places for you to stay at, and the wineries are really good. They're beginning to be competitive with California wines, and the food is out of this world. Most of the famous Mexican chefs have opened up restaurants either in the resorts and the wineries or standing alone. So for the Guadalupe Valley, Valle de Guadalupe.
Any chance there's a lake up there called Lake Hansen or Laguna Hansen?
I don't know.
Well, I've traveled in that area before I grew up in San Diego, and late 80s, early 90s, my brother and I took a little road trip, and we went down to Ensenada, and we went east into the hills, and it is gorgeous up there.
Oh my God.
It's like...
It's phenomenal.
Yeah, and it's like, well, for me at the time, it was like, oh, I didn't realize anything. It looked, you know, this is stupid. It looked like areas of Southern California up in the hills with pine trees. And of course, it's, you know, less than 100 miles south of the border. Why would it be that different once you get up in the hills? But it was green, and I think it was spring. Just so it was a grassy area. It was really pretty. There were horses running around that looked like they were actually happy, and there were frogs everywhere for some reason. I don't know. Like,
so in the past 20 years, it's been kind of built up quite a bit around the wine industry. And so I think if you go there now, you probably wouldn't recognize it. But the amazing thing is there are these restaurants that like the chef gets up in the morning and just goes into the hills and sees what kind of edible greeneries they can find, and then goes to the market and sees what animal they slaughtered that day, and so then makes their menu based on that, and the food is just I can't say no.
What wine pairs well with dog, a horse, or a guinea pig?
I think Zinfandel would go well with greasy foods.
Only here has anyone ever had this conversation on Clubhouse.
And that's the other thing, like the whole anti-South American thing, is because a lot of the people, because after CAFTA are indigenous, they don't speak Spanish, they don't speak English, but they bring their traditions with them, and one of them from South America is eating guinea pig, and so people would go into the pet stores, buy guinea pigs, and then go to the park, a public park, and cook guinea pigs. In some cities are like, you can't do that.
I would serve it with a Sangiovese.
This whole I don't eat this, I don't eat that is a very first world issue. It's like the rest of the world, you eat whatever doesn't eat you first.
A local festival anymore. We're not talking to our neighbors, and I'll tell you this one story and I'll leave. Where I live, there's one road in and out because it was at my city council meeting. If we lose that road, and I'm in a very populous part of California, one of the richest parts of the country, they're going to have to airlift food in. Just think about that. We're in 2025, and a lot, and I'm sure this is true elsewhere, we don't have a second road to where I live. So if there's an earthquake or something, there's no way there's going to be food on the shelf for at least a week. That's enough for some people to die. And that's what I'm saying.
I'm not trying to be a gloom and doomer, but I'm pretty sure this is the plan is to create civil unrest, put people in places under the pretense that it has to do with ICE and sovereign states or sovereign cities not handing over people who are here illegally. And what this is really going to be is setting up for a martial law lockdown, where I think, honestly,
have indigenous features, and in front of Jesus on a plate is a cooked guinea pig.
Oh my gosh, this morning, I'm sorry, I'm just going to change the subject slightly, but I have been in the same realm. I saw this is just really hilarious but kind of stupid video my partner showed me on Instagram of this guy, Brian Moses, but Moses is like one of these blogger newscasters doing kind of all the cliche, cheesy social media things.
This shit is ridiculous. Yes, kissing his ass.
Partners, I should say.
Wait a minute, y'all. So do you know what that means when you said Patriot missiles with the battery?
No, we do not. Please educate us on that. I'm a little nervous already.
So a battery is a unit. It's soldiers.
So you mean bodies, like bodies that we were promised not to put on the ground? These are from bodies.
Unit with the battery. So let me see if I can go back on this. This is a live feed. He said Patriot unit. He said Patriot missiles with the batteries. Okay. Play this again. Patriot batteries that you're planning to use. So it's a full complement with the batteries. Yeah, he said.
I don't think he knows what batteries are. I think he's thinking batteries are like lithium batteries. I don't think he knows, Doug.
I hope that's what he meant. Like he meant like a Duracell battery. Yeah.
Right. He's Energizer.
Because if they're sending batteries and he's talking about teams, that means we're part of the war.
Well, we have some come very soon, within days actually. It's a couple of the countries that have Patriots that are going to swap over and will replace the Patriots with the ones they have, and Matt will coordinate with NATO. But so it's going to be, they can start running ways. It's not the more destroyed in Germany, that's taking time to second defense, and all this also, I think, the Norway is involved, so separating us. I said, we have a problem. We're making this stuff, but we can't keep doing this. And Biden should have done this years ago. He should have done it from the beginning, but he didn't. He didn't know what he was saying. This guy, what a horrible job they did to this country. And I just hope with the border and this and so many other inflation, what a horrible opinion. It's not my opinion. I think it's everybody's opinion. But this is something that should have happened. We're going to see if we can end it. That's all I got. If you want to say to them, again, I said it before, this is not Trump's war. We're here to try and get it finished and settled and whatever. Because nobody wins with this thing. This is a loser from every standpoint. This was Biden and this was other people. And it's a very sad situation. This gentleman's doing a great job. He's doing it. I think he's getting it, and Matt and everybody else that's working on it, I think you get this thing over with.
Standing up for Ukraine as being strong. Will you allow that tariffs lower than 30% before August 1st, or is the deal set?
What does that mean? You're talking about the tariffs? What tariffs? They're more friendly tariffs, right? A little bit more friendly tariffs. You know, we're going to be here talking to people. We have, I watched the show this one. They were talking about, well, what's he going to make the deal? The deals are already made. The letters are the deals. The deals are made. There are no deals are made. They would like to do a different kind of a deal, and we're always open to talk.
Do y'all want to keep hearing this?
I'm ashamed, dude. I for some reason, I just hear them saying dumb shit like, we're going to send all the batteries, the big ones. They're going to be lithium and cobalt, and we're going to put boots on the ground. We're going to put Nikes and Reeboks on the ground. All the boots, the favorite boots, my favorite boots. And all the batteries. We got the bigger batteries, you know.
Yeah, he's definitely he got to be thinking to himself, because you cannot send a battery. You do that, then we're part of it.
This guy's an idiot. Oh my god. All the batteries, we're going to send all of them.
That's what actually, Patty, that puts us in a war with Russia at that point, right?
Definitely does.
That's fucking crazy.
Can you tell us something about, nobody checks this? Can you tell us something about the Golden Dome? Like how does that work? Are those like microwave weaponized, or are they like rockets that are in space? Do you know anything about the Golden Dome and the space war shit, Patty?
So yeah, Golden Dome is nothing but a defense system similar to the Iron Dome, but it's like a bunch of Patriot missiles located all over the place that'll be shooting like anything that may come into the country. Which I really, I don't know. I think it's a waste of funding.
So these are land to was it surface to, I don't know if it's land to surface or surface to land kind of missile system? Is that what that is? It's not like.
It's a deterrent. It's not gonna, all it does is like, if a missile's coming, it'll shoot that missile in the sky. So it doesn't land on the shrapnel still comes down, right? So. It's a waste of money. Because even if Russia was to do something from Cuba, we already have like weapon systems. So.
Well, don't we have the base? Isn't that kind of like loaded anyways? I mean, like if they shoot something off, like not the base, like the Guantanamo Bay, like they'd be able to launch from there, right?
I mean, they could watch, but Guantanamo Bay is not for that. It's something else. But we have Southcom that's in Miami, which they should be collecting intel. We have freaking, we have bases all over the place.
Isn't there a base in Puerto Rico or something? There's something in Puerto Rico, right?
Used to be. But we do have like a team that may be out there that assists with their guard units. Okay, he's a winner chicken dinner, y'all. raise all them up to 5%.
How's this bid for the Nobel Peace Prize going? Any updates on that bullshit?
I have no idea. I don't know. I don't know. You never know.
I'm just being sarcastic. That's just never gonna happen. But I'm just being sarcastic. There's no one gonna nominate him. So except BB, that's his only buddy in his pocket. So, is there anything happening on the House side or on the Senate side or on the Supreme Court side? Those are always hot areas.
We blocked some more. He ain't supposed to be in here. Okay. I ain't gonna remove you yet.
What? I'm not supposed to be in here.
Yeah, I had you blocked. I'm blocking people when I screenshot. I need to go ahead and go back to my block list and start blocking people back.
Damn.
Just to be nice.
Well, how you doing, sis?
Hey, how you doing? I'm gonna send a screenshot of this on my block. I am not doing this. I'm blocking people. Once y'all block for life. See what else we got going on. Hold on, y'all. Give me 1 minute.
Grand rising to the room.
What's that? It's Grand Rising.
It's better than a good morning. I don't know what about morning is good.
You got that right. Not these days. Ain't nothing good about waking up in the morning. I just wake up in the morning and the first thing I say to myself is, what the fuck else happened?
I think you're talking about the other morning.
So, how you feel about this big, beautiful bill and the deportations? How they're going about the deportations that week?
I think that shit don't look good. That shit don't look good at all. They need to be a little bit more coordinated and know exactly what they're going for, but like with actual citizens, there should be a mix in it. I think that's just stupid. God told you exactly what he was going to do and how he was going to do it. Exactly. Verbatim. He didn't leave anything to be discussed or anything to be questioned. He said he was going to take everybody out. Everybody. At one time.
No, that's not what he said. He said he was going for the criminals. But you know, the thing that's really irritating
It classifies criminals as people that cross the border illegally. So that, in essence of itself, lets you know that that's everybody that's here illegally. Those are the criminals. Not the hardworking criminals, not the unlawful criminals. Anybody that crossed the border illegally is a criminal.